You know, I told you about this a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people said in the comments, oh, well, what do you really mean by that, Neil? Well, the bottom line is what I meant was that Prince Harry is so raged with jealousy, so angry that he simply can't get his own way. He is the petulant child. And many people might say, imagine being trapped with that man 24/7, who basically feels that the world owes him, basically everything. You should curtail, bow down, all of that sort of stuff, because that's what he's known all of his life. I remember speaking to one of the former protection officers who looked after him when he was a child, and he told me an amazing story about when Princess Diana used to take the children to get their hair cut just up the road from Kensington Palace in Bayswater Road. And apparently even then he said he could see the writing on the wall. Prince William, he said, was a little boisterous but better behaved. Harry believed everything was geared towards him. And apparently Princess Diana really went along with it simply because she felt it was an easier life. He was going to be difficult, and more importantly, wasn't going to get the recognition and attention that, she knew William would get. Of course, many might say that Diana made a few mistakes, parenting wise. And what you're now seeing is literally Prince Harry's, well, shall we say, petulance played out across now, not just the world, but also on TV screens over in the United States. As ever, let me explain. Morning, chums. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. It's still on a wet, windy day here in the very heart of London town. I hope you're keeping well. And as ever, lovely to have your company. Thank you, by the way, for joining me on all the other videos. I do appreciate it. I know we enjoy the nostalgia stuff, so it's always good to share those stories with you. I enjoy them. I just find it fascinating to see what's gone on in many periods before. When you look at these old hotels as well, I don't know if you find this, and then you think to yourself, am I in the room where the murder took place? Do you know what I mean? Because you never know, do you? They just give you the room and you say, is it a nice room? Oh, it's a lovely room. And then you think, right. I remember staying in the Grand Hotel in Brighton, and apparently I was in the room, the terrible room and situation that happened all those years ago now in the 80s. Was it 80s, 90s? Of course, when it got bombed, and you think, yeah, I thought there was something strange in this room. I don't mean spiritually, but you just know something had gone on. Do you know what I mean? Interesting. Yes, I'll share more with you as and when I get them. But as ever, thank you for joining me, and welcome back, and welcome all brand new subscribers. If Prince Harry really wanted to say that he liked his family, you could basically say, well, he's doing a terrible show of this, I mean, he spoke, didn't he, recently about wanting to connect back with his father before it was too late, all that sort of stuff. And then what you realised, in fact, was that even then it wasn't true. It was a lie. He sat down with the BBC whinging and moaning about, well, his father could have dealt with it. Look, you're a grown man, and at 40 odd, you don't keep turning back to your parents saying, oh, Daddy, can you solve this for me? And this is what Harry truly is. And this is really how Meghan Markle wins out with that particular, case, the basket case, some people might say. Harry, of course, is one of these that won't behave, wants his own way, and she pushes that to the absolute max. You see, Harry popped up once again on the now axed Stephen Colbert show. Now, if you're going to go on a show, right, you don't pick a show that is going because A, it's too expensive, the ratings are down, and he's the least popular chat show host in America. That's the level of brains that we're dealing with, right? Stephen Colbert, I've worked with his production company. The money that they waste is incredible. As I told you the last time, they sent over a bunch of directors' chairs, all emblazoned with the Stephen Colbert show on them, never collected them, and they ended up in a skip. That's the level, of course, of money that they waste, right? So consequently, when people at CBS think, wow, they've got Prince Harry on. Well, how's it going at CBS? Not too well, let me tell you, because CBS, as you know, are making sweeping, drastic cuts. But they did find enough money to pay Prince Harry a very substantial fee, and overnight 5-star accommodation, and travel, and of course all the security that's required. You get the picture. What's interesting also about this particular story, and this is incredible when you think, because Prince Harry basically, if you think about wanting to sort of be nice and make up and all that sort of stuff, remember, this is the same chat show host that went on at the height of Catherine's illness and decided it was going to be fun to share some scurrilous rumours to the nation, to the world, as this particular lady is battling her own private hell. Now, remember, Harry last went on there when he was promoting his book Spare. This time around, Harry, well, really, what was he there for? Nobody really knew. But I tell you what it really was about. It was the fact that the German official visit was happening over here in Windsor. And of course, Meghan's paws were all over this. And I'll tell you why. And not many people know this. You see, the bottom line is that Meghan helped write the script. Oh yes, she helped write that script that Harry had to say. And they had rehearsals via Zoom, right? Now here's where this gets more interesting, because Harry, clearly, I don't think, if I'm being honest, is too much of a bad actor, right? I think he knows the expressions. I think he knows when to cue in the line. However, not a brilliant actor, because if you watch his eye line, he's continually looking for the cue cards. And there are points where he did things which he didn't want to happen. For instance, he didn't want the full camera angle on the back of his head for obvious reasons. They were supposed to only take side shots, but because he'd forgotten his lines and he had to turn around and look at the glass auto cue, that's what the camera got. That didn't go down well, right? Now, here's again where this is fascinating in itself, because as you know, he was supposed to be spoofing this thing and, you know, I can play this, I can, you know, ride a horse, I'm a prince, all of that sort of stuff. Stephen Colbert doesn't care who he now dismantles. He's got no career after next May because, quite frankly, everybody knows he's a dud in Hollywood, right? And the only name of game he can do is political landsliding. And this has happened over here on our chat shows, and it doesn't bode well. But having a real life prince attached to the British monarchy on the day that there's a big event, oh, Stephen loves that. He's not a monarchist at all. We saw that by the way that he attacked Princess Catherine. But again, here's where this gets interesting, because as you know, they were supposed to be spoofing this sort of Hallmark Christmas film, right? Now, on the back of that, and here's an interesting point, you know where the bit where they say, do you know any actresses, anybody that could play a princess? Ooh, not sure. Well, I mean, you know, it's stretching it, isn't it, saying Meghan Markle actress? But the idea was that Meghan was going to apparently magically appear on a big screen behind them both saying, hey, me. And of course, this was going to be the payoff laugh. But like Meghan often does on these things, at the 11th hour, for some explicable reason, she decided that, well, no, she couldn't do it, or she was too busy. Apparently she didn't have the time. And this is because Meghan apparently suddenly decided that she was going to be too busy trying to get the things going of making chocolate. That's going to be the next idea. Just white labeling it, of course. She won't bother going into the rudimentary thing of trying to work out whether it's a good flavour or not. Meghan doesn't truly bother about that. What's interesting again with this particular story, though, is that Harry seemingly doesn't care that he's made to look a fool of. He's already pushed the idea with President Trump by basically, well, attacking him now on the show. Remember, Harry really needs the President of the United States regarding his visa, but he doesn't care. Because why? Petulance, right? When, of course, Trump stood up earlier this year and pointed out to His Majesty the King that he had an excellent fine son in Prince William, Harry was raging. And it's a rage that he's not let go of. But of course, some people might say it may have been a blessing seeing another version of Meghan's acting abilities at the end of the Stephen Colbert show. Did this rate well? No. Did the clicks work? Sort of, but not really unanimously in Prince Harry's favour. The bottom line is everybody was asking, what on earth was he thinking? And when he looks back at it himself, he might also think, what on earth was I thinking? There's more to come. It's developing. When I know more, you'll know more. Neil Sean in a rainy Kensington.